Hi, everyone, and we're back to the Neil Haley Show. And again, we want to thank LegalSoft for this opportunity to talk to amazing lawyers and their practices as we continue. And I have on the line right now is Kasim Idrees. Kasim, thanks for coming by. And, I'm looking forward to our conversation about your part of an employment law assist and learning about employment law. But let's go to the story. Did you always want to be a lawyer growing up?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Neil. Happy to be here. Growing up, I was always torn between being a lawyer or finding a way to climb the executive ladder in business. So my perception of both industries was so different back then. I saw my parents, who were business owners, help so many people along their journey. I always wanted to do the same. On the other hand, I always saw attorneys as these big, scary guys that you really don't want to mess with. I had no interest being that type of person. Oddly enough, I was a pretty outspoken kid, and many around me encouraged me to consider the field of law. So, about early on in high school is when I really started to get interested in the field of law.
And what made you interested? A show or some certain circumstance that got you interested in law in high school?
I think it was kind of a momentum of, a lot of people around me encouraging me to do this, and then looking into, well, this may be a good field for me, right? And then I started to actually change my perception of who an attorney really is, and notice that there are people that actually do help individuals, and they're great attorneys, successful attorneys, and they love their career. So I saw that as an opportunity, as maybe that's something I can do myself.
So when you got to law school, what made you want to decide employment law? That's a story in itself, right? To choose that area for your study. Yeah.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I didn't study employment law in law school. I graduated with the JD MBA, and I was on path to practice mergers and acquisitions law. So that's essentially buying and selling businesses. So after a few years of representing businesses and business owners, I got into an interesting opportunity where I bought into the family business of owning restaurants. At that point, I had about 100 employees. They eventually became my family, right? They were the legs of my business, and I was so grateful for that. And it almost reminded me what I really wanted to do in life, which is to help people. So, around that time, I also started to see plaintiffs' attorneys that were doing great things for deserving people. And I said to myself, I want to do just that. That's how I got into employment law.
So you have multiple businesses then, it sounds like, if that kind of person you
I
are.
do. I do.
But this is definitely came something. And what did you see? Employees are just not being taken care of. They need to have someone to battle for them, especially with challenges that happen as working for companies, right?
That's right. And unfortunately, what I guess experienced in life and what I'm experiencing now are it's usually the most deserving people, the hard workers, those that come and dedicate themselves to the role. They mean well. And, obviously it's not across the board. It doesn't always happen in every business, but you come across a few bad apples that take advantage of those people. And, it's almost heartbreaking, right? Because my parents were immigrants. They came here and they worked very hard their entire lives. And fortunately for them, they're able to get somewhere by doing that. And there are just the same amount of people that have worked just as much to get as decent as they can to provide for their families. And horrible circumstances result in almost taking their livelihood away.
So what types of cases do you see in employment law? It's all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's something as small as I didn't receive my last paycheck to something as large as I was terminated because of my disability. And I think on all spectrums, there's influx of people not really seeing how that can affect them. I mean, yeah, of course, when you have a disability and you're terminated, automatically you think, well, that sucks, but you can go get another job. But it's really not that easy, right? You're living with a disability, you're trying to maintain that while doing your best to have a job, and now you have to change all of a sudden, continue supporting your family somehow, some way. But the problems and the issues are just as severe with individuals that aren't receiving pay, right? I mean, you work to pay, or sorry, to receive pay, and in the end, if you're putting this work in and you're not receiving your pay, you're not able to support your family. You're going through a whole lot of other sufferings, and you're just trying your best. Again, you look at those people and you say you don't deserve this, right? And I think that's always what attracted me about this field was there are a lot of people out there that just don't know how to find those types of resources. And so I try to be everywhere I can be to remind people that there is a way to get what you deserve.
No, it definitely sounds like that they don't know their rights. A lot of times, unless you're a union employee, you have a little bit more of someone to go back you. But when you don't have anything, you've worked your butt off, something happens, and there's circumstances that you were terminated or not treated fairly. There's some people just don't think there's any other options.
That's exactly right. To add to that, what many others think are that I do have rights. It's just hopeless because businesses are far too large. They're not going to listen to me over, a manager because that person's been there for so long. They think it's always politics, right? But there's no business that's too large to be above the law. And that's what a lot of people that go into hiring a plaintiff's employment attorney, they have this sentiment to start. They say, well, I'll give it a try, but I really don't think I'm going to get anything out of it. That'll be great. And they go through the process and they all of a sudden have this like restoration of humanity and realize, wow, there is a system in place for someone like myself to be protected against these big guys.
And it happens all the time. You think with all the laws in place, it wouldn't happen all the time, right?
You would think, right? But of course, like I said earlier, you get a few bad apples. You get some people that just don't really know what they're doing and make the wrong decisions. So no one's perfect, and we live in an imperfect world. So as much as laws keep evolving, it really comes down to the people that should be upheld by those laws.
So how did you grow your practice? Kind of that happened from, starting it yourself after you found out, as we talked about that story, and then into growing it.
Yeah. Well, once I got to a point of, this is the practice I want to do, I just pulled the trigger. I met with a lot of plaintiffs' employment attorneys, plaintiffs' attorneys generally. I try to understand the practice. I shadowed people. And, within a few months, I had my firm open, and I just brought in this mentality of I'm going to do whatever it takes. No matter how difficult, how daunting, how impossible things may seem, there's got to be a solution to this. And I guess it's really that entrepreneurial mindset.
You got it.
And that journey was quite crazy. I started with just one assistant and myself, and our goal was just to get cases, to get clients, and to have our clients trust us and do whatever we can for these clients. I was fortunate enough to have a great network of people, great network of plaintiffs' attorneys that were there to help me, co-counsel with me, provide guidance. So as difficult or as scary the unknown was, I always had a resource to back off and work with, so that I wasn't doing anything that could harm the prospect of my client's case. And, day by day, 16 hours, 7 days a week, I just was so infatuated with learning this field that I didn't realize I had tons of cases out of nowhere, and I needed to hire. And one thing led to another, and now we're a fully operating firm, fully staffed, from everything you can think of in just a matter of a few short years.
But isn't it crazy how we can get to 16 hours a day and not even know it, but then yet the people around us know it? We don't, right?
That's exactly right.
we're major focused, like, okay, here we go, keep going because of the competitive urge that I think we both have. But then we're like, uh-oh, what do I do next? And that's the biggest challenge for any law firm, is scaling and figuring out how to scale and do that. But I have a question for you. How did you find cases in this? Because it's not like a certain thing that the attorney, if somebody's going to get a divorce or certain things like this, employment things happen overnight sometimes. It's not a process. They're not like it's not like everybody that says something, but you talk about employee law. I'm learning this all for the first time interviewing you. Like, I wouldn't know that there are attorneys like that out there. It'd be like having to go to the Google and start typing them in. But how did you find clients?
Well, at first it started with referrals. And so lots of firms around me would refer cases to my firm. And that kind of helped me get started. Then eventually it was just really targeted marketing through social media, through Google ads, through everything you can think of, postcards, word of mouth, just everything and anything. And we're still trying to find new avenues to continuously try to bring cases into our office, because it is difficult. You're right. I mean, you can't just, put someone outside of every business and wait for them to be fired and say, hey, do you need a lawyer, right?
And you don't see those on television a lot. Employee law, you don't see on television commercials for law like other ones, or billboards.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it's hard to say why, and most likely because those that are on billboards kind of can relate to anyone and everyone that comes across that billboard. And the situations where they need a lawyer in those fields are probably more often than when they need an employment lawyer, right? I mean, I tell my clients all the time when we wrap up a case is, you can reach out to me anytime you have any questions, or if you need anything at all, but I really hope that you don't ever need me again, right? And that should be the case, right?
And then getting them to tell somebody else that they went through this. Because, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I ever had a situation where I was being discriminated by an employee or treated like a certain way, or something that could involve employee law. But it happens, and it happens all the time. And a lot of times they feel marginalized to even come to somebody, right? It could be even sexual harassment, which happens all the time too, right? There's multiple things in employee law, right?
That's right. That's right.
And they're pushed on by human resources, or certain things for sure, and all that. And so,
yeah, and that's, it's interesting that you say that, because when a lot of, actually, the largest cases we've had, they're particularly wrongful termination cases. A lot of difficulty we have is this perception that's been, I guess, tattooed in the client's brain that can I do this? Am I allowed to do that? I can say that, right? And it's, I got to a point to finally start asking my clients, where did you get this information from? And it always comes back to the same source, HR, right? And I think the unfortunate circumstance in a lot of businesses is HR really is there to protect the company, not the people, right? And so when employees have concerns, they go to HR thinking HR is here to help me. And oftentimes what we've seen is they're misguided by HR, and they almost, it's almost like an opportunity for HR to make the employee think it's their fault. And not all businesses are like that, but it's pretty profound how many cases I've had that the circumstances are similar to that.
Yeah, and think about it, and I'm thinking about it when you say that. It's like, there's so many things. You and I could break it down and have segments on everything involving your business that people just don't think about. Your big job, as I'm a marketing guy myself, and in the media giant, how to get the word out about this subject matter, is to talk about everything involving employee law. All the laws, your rights as an employee, all these things, and more people, you'll be finding cases. So if somebody comes to you, is it like being injured? Or do you how does it work? Like, till we get money for you, how does that work if it's involving employee law, where somebody comes to you with a specific case and they might not have the money, or it works in all this situation? Is it kind of like almost injury law, or what would you say?
Well, financially, I guess you could say it is like, personal injury law. We work off contingency, so we don't ask for any money up front. we cover the costs. So it's to give the clients reassurance that you have rights here, and there's no risks in doing this. We'll bear the risk for you, which is particularly difficult in this field. For comparison, somebody comes into your office and they're injured. You can make a case out of that based off the injury, in fact, right? Well, when you have a client that comes in and says, "Hey, look, I've been wrongfully terminated." Well, there's a million questions that we have to understand if you've actually, in fact, been wrongfully terminated before we could even decide to take the case on, right? And so there's a lot of preliminary investigation that's required, and then a lot that goes into actually developing the liability to use in court. And so, the process is it's a little bit of the same with the personal injury law, but there are the nuances just because of the environment in which employment law is.
Yeah, you need more evidence. An injury.
That's absolutely right.
It's there's not as much. Okay, drunk driver hits you. Well, we have the evidence. It's
right.
When you're talking about hearsay, something happens. And then the proof, there's a lot more investigation involved and things like that, and having those conversations. And we'll get to it at the end of the interview, how people can contact you. As you said, you're in the Los Angeles area, correct?
That's correct.
So that if you're in that Los Angeles area, but I'm sure also you'd like to help people if ever they wanted to call you to give you some tips for people all over the country that need the best employee and lawyer. So tell me, again, we thank LegalSoft for having these opportunities, these segments, how LegalSoft has helped grow your practice.
Well, they've been a tremendous help. I call them the backbone of my firm. When I got started with LegalSoft. They helped me find my first assistant. They've actually helped me retain 90% of my staff. They've helped with all of my marketing. They've helped with all of, developing all the processes in my firm. I work very intimately with LegalSoft. In fact, they're right next door to me. So I consider them part of the Employment Law Assist family. I consider myself part of the LegalSoft family. And it's great. They are always there for me. They know what I need even before I know what I need. And it's been a tremendous help. I think this journey wouldn't have been as fun and as effective without them.
No, and I think what I've learned from talking to Hamid and some of the members of the team and all these things, the bottom line is that there's a one-stop shop for law firms that want to scale their practice, because you need everything to scale a practice. You can't just decide, okay, I'm going to start hiring people. You have to have cases. So you have to do marketing. You also have to have a CRM so you can get sales done. All of it is a system that they teach a systematic way to do things, because you can't keep working 16 hours a day, which I've been told myself, if you don't learn to scale, because at one point it's going to burn you out, and you're not going to be best for your clients, and you're not going to be able to help as many people. And that's what they do. And all the steps and procedures that are involved, right? As an entrepreneur, you know that you have to have all the wheels in motion, right? You can't just have one specific category you're doing really well in. You have to hit all those motions to grow a business.
That's exactly right. It's interesting that you say that, because that is exactly what LegalSoft provides. And it's something that most attorneys haven't really considered, because the field of law is a little archaic, right? Yes. Most of these solo practitioners, it's just them and maybe a paralegal or assistant. And when they think about implementing systems, having things move a little more seamlessly, automating things, they think of, well, that's not for me, that's not for my practice. But they're not understanding that their practice is a business. And in order to provide a great service, be an effective litigator, or just provide a great representation, you need to take a lot off of your plate and focus on doing just that. I mean, what is your core business? And if you're doing things outside of your core business, well, then you're doing a disservice to those you provide the service to.
Totally. And that's the key. What differentiates you as a law firm compared to other firms in your industry?
What really sets us apart from other firms is what I call a modern approach to traditional practices. And it's kind of what we're talking about here with systems and processes. But what else we also do is that we pride ourselves on providing a first-class service with effective representation. So we strive to get outstanding results, even for the smallest cases. We give everything that we can for our largest cases, including, housing our clients, living with them, to just be very intimately close with their experience so that we're able to share that experience in the courtroom. Alongside all of this, we all give our cell phones out to our clients. Every single one of my clients, I mean, I've got hundreds.
Fantastic. I wish
they all have my cell phone number.
You would be able to do that because you're not busy doing you're really client facing while you let the other people behind the scenes do everything else. And if every lawyer would make themselves available where, hey, yeah, they're in meetings, but they're going to answer a question via text, especially when you're stressed out, you don't feel good about yourself, you're really hurt inside and you need to get that answer, you make yourself available. That's phenomenal.
That I'm so glad you say that, because that's what I love about that the most. I'll give you an example. Just the other day, it was my son's second birthday. So I decided to take my family to Disneyland for the day. And
that's nice.
I get a call from my client. And so I look at my wife and I say, hey, look, I'm going to take a phone call. Is that okay? And she's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. We're walking down, we're heading over to the Ferris wheel over at California Adventures. And, I'm just chatting it up with my client. We're obviously talking about his case, but he starts to hear the background noise and he asks, where are you? And I said, well, it's my kid's birthday. We're at Disneyland. Said, no, what are you doing? What? I'm not going to hold up your time like this. I said, no, you are not holding up my time. I'm here for you at any time. This is my pleasure. My family understands why I do this, and you know exactly why I'm here for you. And he had nothing to say, but what I know and felt was he really appreciated that, because I could hear in his voice when he called me, he needed his lawyer. And if I were him and I had to call a secretary who said she'll send a message and don't get a call back until the next day, I'd wonder, what are you doing for me, right? And maybe that's just the way I think, but I truly enjoy it. I truly love being there for my clients because I know they went through some serious stuff and they need someone to listen to, even if it's just a shoulder to cry on. That's okay. I get it, right? And it does make the process a little easier for them so they can think more logically and make better decisions, because they're the client at the end of the day. They can't just follow what the lawyer says.
Now I'm going to tell people listening to this, if you were doing all your social media yourself, okay, if you were doing all the paperwork yourself, if you were doing all of these other things yourself, you would not have time for the clients. And you're basically putting your time in front of the client and allow all the other things, the paperwork, the setting up the emails, maybe to the other attorney, to the insurance company, wherever it is, that's not always being done by you, or you wouldn't have time for your family and you wouldn't have time for your clients. And that is what's scaling a process, but still providing customer service. And I think that sets you apart, being able to call right now. So where can people schedule a call with you if they have questions about employment law right now? Where can they go?
Well, they can always go to our website, www.employmentlawAssist.com. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Employment Law Assist. If you go to our website, there's a contact us form and it goes straight to our office. We call you within the day. You can call me directly. My cell phone number is 818-527-6727. It's a person that's answering, and that's me. It's not a bot, I promise you. And if you'd like to learn more about our law firm, our website is definitely the best place for that.
Well, we appreciate it. This is great information. And I'm going to call out every law firm in the country. Answer your phone for your clients. Have the attorney talk to you, especially once you retain them. Because if you can't do that and you don't have time, there's a new law firm ready to pop up and take that case on. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, you're watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.